Chosen one, let me ask you something. And this time, I want you to pause before you answer. Not with your mind, but with the honesty of your spirit. Have you ever encountered a soul whose very presence disrupts you at the deepest level? I'm not referring to fleeting butterflies, surface-level attractions, or the kind of emotions that rise and fade with the passing seasons. I'm speaking of something far more profound, a spiritual pull so strong, so relentless, that no matter how much you try to bury it beneath reason, distraction, or denial, it keeps resurfacing, echoing through your thoughts and reverberating in your heart. Perhaps you've tried to dismiss it, telling yourself it was nothing more than imagination, weakness, or nostalgia. You prayed about it, convinced yourself you were moving forward, told yourself it was finished. Yet in those quiet moments when the world falls silent, the tug returns, persistent, undeniable, and strangely sacred. This is not ordinary emotion. This is not human attachment. What you are sensing is something eternal, something woven into your very DNA by the Creator of heaven and earth. Because here is the truth. God does not play with hearts, and He does not forge soul ties for amusement. Every bond divinely designed carries weight, purpose, and timing. It is part of a heavenly blueprint that existed long before you took your first breath. When you feel this kind of pull, when a connection refuses to die, no matter how you try to silence it, you must understand that heaven is whispering. And when heaven whispers, chosen one, it is never by accident. It is always to awaken destiny. Today, I will walk you through 5 prophetic signs that reveal when God has chosen a specific person to walk alongside you in your journey. These signs are not about shallow passion, fleeting desires, or romanticized dreams. They are about destiny alignment, about heaven's orchestration of connections that serve eternal purposes. And if you stay with me until the end, your spirit will open to truths that many people spend their entire lives blind to. You will finally understand why this bond has not faded, why it continues to call you even through silence and distance, and why it keeps resurfacing at the exact moments when you thought you were free of it. But before we dive into these revelations, I want you to do something spiritual. If you feel this message stirring something deep within you as you read, acknowledge it. Mark it in some way, because when you recognize a spiritual stirring, you agree with heaven's invitation. You can write down a declaration, or you can even whisper to yourself, "I am ready." In the original message, people were asked to comment the number 99 as a prophetic act, symbolizing how heaven leaves the 99 to pursue the 1. The principle is the same. A visible action reflects an invisible alignment. Declare that you are ready for clarity, because the moment you position yourself with expectancy, heaven begins to release understanding. Now let us begin with the first prophetic sign. Sign 1. The repeated encounters are not random. Chosen one, listen carefully. One of the clearest indications that God has woven someone into the tapestry of your destiny is the way their presence keeps reappearing in your life through what seems like coincidences. You've tried to close the chapter. You've convinced yourself the story was finished. You've determined to move forward. But then, without warning, there they are again, surfacing in your dreams, appearing on your social media feed, or standing unexpectedly in a place you had never planned to go. Every time you think you've escaped the pull, the connection resurfaces like a thread stitched invisibly through your days. Understand this. These are not random glitches. These are not accidents. What you are experiencing are divine appointments. God is a master orchestrator, and when He intends for 2 souls to walk together. He does not need to make grand announcements. He does not require thunder from the skies or angels with trumpets. Instead, he speaks through subtle patterns, through the quiet choreography of life, creating meetings that appear ordinary on the surface but thunder in your spirit. This is heaven's signature. This is the fingerprint of the divine upon your story. Think about it. Why does it always seem to happen just when you're about to forget? Just when you're convincing yourself it's over? Why does life pull you back at the exact moment you thought you were free? The answer is simple. Because this connection is not tethered to fleeting emotion. It is tethered to eternal purpose. And purpose does not expire simply because emotions fade. Purpose waits. Purpose aligns. Purpose reactivates when heaven decrees the timing is right. But here lies a mystery you must grasp. God's connections are often hidden beneath layers of inconvenience. You might meet at awkward times, under strange circumstances, or in situations that seem insignificant to the natural eye. Yet in the spiritual realm, these are checkpoints, sacred markers placed along your journey to remind you that the story is not yet complete. Temporary separations may come, but they are not the end. They are the refining ground where lessons are learned, faith is tested, and maturity is cultivated. When the appointed season comes, God bends paths so they intersect with divine precision. And pay attention to this. These encounters rarely feel casual. Have you noticed that the conversations feel weightier, the silences louder, the smallest interactions charged with meaning? It's as if your spirits recognize each other in ways your minds cannot fully explain. That is because, in truth, they do. Beyond time, beyond space, beyond the limitations of your current season, your spirits share a recognition coded into eternity itself. Every meeting reactivates that recognition, like an echo from heaven, reminding you that the story is not finished. But here is a vital warning. Not every intense connection is divine. The enemy is skilled at mimicking passion, at creating counterfeits that distract you with intensity, but lead you away from clarity. This is why discernment is essential. When God orchestrates the encounters, even in the midst of unanswered questions, your inner spirit will be steadied by peace. You may not understand everything outwardly, but inwardly you will sense a quiet assurance that there is more to the story. Confusion is not the fruit of a divine connection. Peace is. This is why, chosen one, these repeated encounters are not interruptions in your life. They are rehearsals. God is training your spirit to recognize His signature, to notice His patterns, to see beyond what is visible, so that when the full unveiling arrives, you are ready. Every so-called coincidence is a breadcrumb leading you back to your assignment. And as these encounters begin to intensify, know this: God is amplifying the signals. Heaven is drawing your attention because something is about to be released. Sign 2. Their presence awakens your spirit. Now we come to the second prophetic sign, and this one goes even deeper. There are many people who can make you feel wanted, admired, or entertained, but there are very few who can enter your life and, without a word, awaken something eternal within you. Chosen one. When you encounter the person God has designed to align with your destiny, their very presence acts like a spiritual ignition. The atmosphere shifts when they are near. Your thoughts gain clarity. Your prayers become bolder. The dreams you had buried suddenly stir to life again. What you feel in their presence is not emotional dependency. It is spiritual activation. You see, God does not send certain souls merely to comfort you. He sends them to awaken you, to remind you of the assignments you abandoned, to reignite the visions you thought were lost, to shake you out of spiritual slumber and return you to alignment with heaven's blueprint. And the most extraordinary part? They do not need to preach to you. They do not need long speeches or motivational talks. Their very presence carries prophetic weight. Their energy disrupts stagnation, stirring awake the warrior, the intercessor, the visionary inside you that had been buried under disappointments, distractions, or fear. Have you noticed that when you are with this person, you feel closer to the truest version of yourself? Not the version shaped by society's expectations, or the version scarred by past trauma, but the version God envisioned when He first whispered you into existence. That is no accident. That is because their spirit has been coded to unlock hidden dimensions of your destiny. And this activation is not one-sided. It is mutual. When heaven forges a connection, it is not for one soul to feed while the other starves. It is for both to rise together. This is not chemistry. Chemistry fades. This is covenant activation. When two flames meet and burn brighter, not for fleeting pleasure, but for kingdom impact, that is when you know you are dealing with something eternal. And yet, this connection may not always feel comfortable. The right person will not lull you into apathy. They will challenge you, sometimes without even trying. Their presence will stir conviction, provoking you to confront areas of your life you've ignored. This sacred discomfort is not a sign of danger. It is a sign of destiny. Because in that discomfort, God does His greatest work. And perhaps this is why the enemy fought so hard to separate you from this person. Because he knew that when the two of you stood aligned, your combined presence would create a force too powerful for the kingdom of darkness to withstand. What you feel when you are near them is not mere emotion. It is a divine frequency, a resonance of heaven's blueprint. Their presence is a mirror, reflecting back the greatness God has placed inside you. And chosen one, that is only the beginning. Chosen one, we now arrive at the third prophetic sign. And here, the depth of God's orchestration begins to reveal itself with even greater clarity. By now, you have already seen how repeated encounters are not accidents, and how the presence of this person ignites your spirit in ways that cannot be explained by mere human chemistry. But what truly sets apart a divine connection from ordinary ties is not simply how it begins, but how it endures. In the natural world, most relationships and connections are fragile. They rely heavily on constant communication, physical proximity, or external affirmations to survive. Distance quickly withers them, silence suffocates them, and misunderstandings destroy them. Yet when God authors a connection, it is built upon a foundation that transcends time, silence, and separation. This is the heart of sign 3. The bond survives. Time, silence, and distance. You need to pause and reflect on this truth. If you can go months or even years without speaking to this person, and yet the bond feels alive the moment their name crosses your mind, then what you are experiencing is not emotional obsession. It is not weakness. It is the endurance of a spiritual tether forged by heaven itself. God often allows seasons of separation not as punishment, but as refinement. When He establishes a divine bond, He does not intend for it to crumble at the first challenge. Instead, He allows distance so that the connection can mature, silence so that discernment can sharpen, and waiting so that your faith can deepen. In human love, absence often breeds doubt, but in divine love, absence strengthens roots beneath the soil. It is not fragile infatuation. It is spiritual resilience. Think about your own life. Have there been times when you thought you had moved on, when you believed the connection was over, only for their memory to rise up like a sudden storm in your heart. Perhaps you dreamt of them, or maybe a song, a place, or a random event triggered their presence in your spirit. That was not nostalgia or weakness. That was the echo of a bond God refused to let die. Understand this, chosen one. What God plants cannot be uprooted by time, silence, or distance. Human stories end, but divine assignments remain alive until heaven declares them complete. When God writes your story, He is not intimidated by delays or distance. He is not moved by human impatience. The same God who united Adam and Eve at the beginning of time is still weaving lives together according to His schedule, not ours. He knows that sometimes you need to walk through deserts alone, that sometimes silence must strip away your reliance on external voices so you can learn to hear His whispers. He knows that distance is necessary so that your love is not built on convenience, but on obedience and faith. If you can withstand the silence and still feel the unshakable tether, then you are experiencing a bond that was never meant to fade. This bond is not about constant validation. It is not about daily affirmations or the security of routine contact. It is about a covenant written into eternity. Even when you have been apart, even when misunderstandings created wounds, something deeper has remained untouched. That is because God does not create divine connections for temporary companionship. He forges them for kingdom impact. He does not unite two souls to pass the time. He unites them because their missions, their destinies, and their spiritual legacies are intertwined in ways neither can fully see yet. Chosen one, this is why the bond has endured everything meant to break it. Every test, every silence, every season of uncertainty has only proven its authenticity. And here is the warning. The enemy will always try to exploit time and silence to make you doubt what God has spoken. He will whisper that it's over, that you were mistaken, that the connection was nothing but a fantasy. But remember, God does not need noise to work. His greatest movements often happen in the unseen, in the quiet, in the waiting. If the bond has survived everything designed to bury it, then it is not dead. It is being prepared for resurrection in God's perfect timing. Sign 4. They push you toward your calling, not away from it. Now let us go deeper still, because survival alone is not the measure of a divine bond. Many connections endure, but not all of them are aligned with heaven's agenda. This is where discernment must sharpen, for the fourth prophetic sign is this. The person God has aligned with your destiny will always push you toward your calling, never away from it. The reality is simple, but sobering. Not everyone who loves you is aligned with your assignment. Some people enter your life to comfort your wounds, to offer companionship in lonely seasons, or to fill emotional gaps. They may care for you deeply, but their presence subtly drifts you away from your purpose. Your prayers weaken, your hunger for God diminishes, and your focus blurs. These relationships may feel pleasant for a time, but they are distractions disguised as comfort. Yet when God ordains a connection, the opposite occurs. Instead of dulling your purpose, their presence ignites it. They call you higher. They awaken the warrior in you. They remind you of who you were created to be, even when you have forgotten it yourself. This kind of person does not settle for your excuses. They do not coddle your complacency. Their very existence confronts you, not with criticism or harshness, but with a holy conviction that you were designed for more. You may feel uncomfortable at times because they will not allow you to shrink into mediocrity. They see what heaven has deposited in you, and they will not let you bury it beneath fear or distraction. Being around them recalibrates your focus in ways you cannot explain. Suddenly, you find yourself praying with greater passion, dreaming with greater clarity, pursuing your calling with renewed boldness. Their influence awakens your spiritual DNA. This is not manipulation. It is not emotional dependency. It is divine synergy. Their calling activates yours, and your gifts awaken theirs. Together, you sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron. They do not complete you. That is God's work. But they complement your calling, serving as a mirror that reflects the version of you that heaven envisioned. They will provoke you to confront areas you've neglected, to rise above fears you've tolerated, to embrace assignments you've avoided. It is not always comfortable, but it is always transformative. And here lies the beauty. This activation lingers even when you are apart. Have you noticed that even in their absence, their influence echoes in your decisions? You find yourself making choices that align with purpose because their presence set a new standard within you. You cannot go back to shallow prayers or small thinking because their impact awakened a spiritual hunger in you that refuses to die. This is the mark of a kingdom connection. It doesn't merely make you feel good, it makes you become who you were always meant to be. Chosen one, consider this carefully. The person God aligns with you may not always say what you want to hear, but they will carry an authority that resonates with your spirit. Their encouragement will not just flatter you, it will call you higher. Their love will not just comfort you, it will refine you. They may not fit the world's fairy tale image of happily ever after, but they will be your divine catalyst, the one God uses to activate the next dimension of your calling. And perhaps now you begin to see why the warfare surrounding this connection has been so fierce. The enemy is not threatened by emotional entanglements that keep you distracted, but he is terrified of a covenant connection that aligns you with your destiny. He knows that if the two of you ever walk fully in purpose together, the impact will ripple across generations. That is why the trials have been so intense. That is why doubt has tried to creep in. Because this is not just about companionship, it is about kingdom impact. When you reflect on this, you will realize that this connection is not designed to trap you in emotions. It is designed to release you into destiny. Their presence does not chain you to the past. It thrusts you toward the future God has written for you. And the more you lean into this truth, the more you will recognize that what you feel is not mere attraction, but heaven's blueprint unfolding. Chosen one, we now arrive at the fifth and final sign, and it is here that the magnitude of what God is doing through this connection becomes undeniable. We have already seen how divine alignment brings repeated encounters, how it activates your spirit, how it endures beyond silence and distance, and how it pushes you relentlessly toward your true calling. But the last and most undeniable mark of a heaven-forged bond is this. The connection carries a weight that feels larger than the two of you, because it is not just about your comfort, it is about kingdom impact. This is sign 5. The relationship serves a divine assignment, greater than both of you. Pause for a moment and consider this carefully. Human relationships often orbit around personal needs, companionship, affection, emotional fulfillment, stability. There is nothing wrong with those desires, for God Himself created us with them. But when He forges a bond destined for eternity, it is never merely about filling emotional gaps or providing surface-level happiness. It is about mission. It is about impact. It is about the kingdom of God advancing through the union of two vessels who were chosen long before birth to carry out assignments that converge in a way neither could accomplish alone. This is why such a bond feels heavy, why the intensity cannot be explained by logic, and why the spiritual warfare against it seems relentless. Because what is at stake is not just a personal love story, it is a kingdom mandate. Think of how Scripture confirms this pattern. When God designed Adam, he did not give him Eve simply so that he would not be lonely. He gave him Eve because together they were called to steward creation. Abraham and Sarah were not united simply to keep each other company in old age. They were destined to birth a covenant nation. Mary and Joseph's partnership was not for comfort. It was for carrying the Savior of the world into history. Divine unions are not casual. They are catalytic. And when such a union appears in your life, chosen one, it is marked by the sense that something greater than you is unfolding. You may not fully understand it, but you feel it in your spirit. This connection is not just about affection, it is about assignment. This is why the conversations between you feel different. They may start with simple exchanges, but somehow they often drift into vision, purpose, and destiny. It is why, when you imagine the future, you do not simply see companionship, you see ministry, legacy, and impact. You see how your gifts complement theirs, how your weaknesses are covered by their strengths, how their fire ignites yours, and how your obedience fuels theirs. This is the unmistakable evidence that God is weaving together something larger than comfort. He is orchestrating covenant partnership for His glory. And this is why you cannot dismiss the connection, no matter how much you have tried. Heaven does not let go of what it has ordained, because the assignment is not optional. It is generational. Understand this. The enemy does not wage war against ordinary relationships. He does not waste his energy trying to destroy shallow entanglements or temporary infatuations. But when two people are destined to impact the kingdom together, all of hell rises in resistance. This is why you have faced unusual warfare in this bond. Confusion, fear, miscommunication, long seasons of silence, or even external obstacles that made it seem impossible. The intensity of the battle reveals the weight of the assignment. The greater the opposition, the clearer the confirmation. If the enemy is attacking it so violently, it is because he sees the future impact more clearly than you do right now. He knows that if the two of you ever step fully into alignment, entire territories will be shaken, chains will break, lives will be transformed, and generational curses will be shattered. This is why he seeks to delay it, to distort it, to convince you that it is over. But chosen one, what God ordains cannot be stolen. The enemy can delay, but he cannot deny. And here lies the prophetic truth you must grasp. Divine timing is everything. Even when the connection is real, even when the bond is heaven-sent, God often orchestrates seasons of waiting, preparation, and refinement before the full union can manifest. This is because He is not simply uniting two people, He is aligning two destinies. He must prepare each vessel individually so that when they finally converge, they do not implode under the weight of the assignment. Think of a rocket launch. Both fuel and structure must be perfected, or else the power meant to carry it into orbit will instead destroy it on the launch pad. In the same way, God must ensure that both of you are refined, matured, and equipped before the fullness of the bond is released. Delay does not mean denial. It means preparation. This is why you may have felt tension between what your spirit knows and what your circumstances show. In your spirit, you sense the reality of the bond. You cannot shake it. You cannot escape it. But in the natural, it seems distant, fragile, or impossible. That tension is not proof of deception. It is proof of process. God is teaching you to trust His timing, not your emotions. He is teaching you that destiny connections are not birthed through human striving, but through divine alignment. And when His appointed moment comes, nothing and no one will be able to stop it. Chosen one, you must learn to rest in this truth. What is authored by heaven does not need manipulation to manifest. You do not need to force it, chase it, or beg for it. You only need to obey God's voice in your own journey, to keep walking faithfully in your assignment, and to allow Him to orchestrate the convergence in His perfect way. If you try to rush it, you risk damaging it. If you try to control it, you risk corrupting it. But if you surrender it, trust it, and yield it back to God, He will surprise you with the beauty of His timing. Now let us bring this to its prophetic conclusion. The 5 signs together form a tapestry that reveals the unmistakable fingerprint of God upon a connection. The repeated encounters that defy coincidence, the activation of your spirit that cannot be manufactured, the endurance through silence and distance, the push toward your divine calling, and finally, the undeniable sense of assignment that is bigger than both of you. When all of these converge, you are not simply dealing with a relationship. You are standing in the presence of destiny. You are experiencing a covenant that was written into your story long before you drew your first breath. And here is the ultimate revelation. Such a bond is not just about your lifetime, it is about generations, yet unborn. When God unites 2 chosen ones, He does so with eternity in mind. Your obedience today will ripple into your children, into your community, into nations you may never even visit. The prayers you pray together, the battles you win together, the assignments you fulfill together. These become seeds that bear fruit long after your lifetime. This is why you must take the bond seriously. It is not a casual entanglement. It is not simply about whether you feel good in each other's company. It is about legacy. It is about impact. It is about carrying the weight of heaven's agenda in the earth. Chosen one, the word of the Lord for you is simple yet profound. Stop doubting what your spirit already knows. Stop allowing the silence to convince you that God has forgotten. Stop letting the enemy distort what heaven has declared. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. You are discerning something real, something eternal, something divine. And though you may not yet see the full picture, trust that heaven's blueprint is unfolding perfectly. God is not late. He is not unfaithful. He is aligning every detail, every season, every refinement, so that when the appointed time comes, the bond will not only manifest, but will endure and prosper in ways beyond your imagination. So stand firm, keep praying, keep walking in your calling, and hold on to the truth that what is authored in eternity cannot be erased in time. The connection you carry in your spirit is not an illusion. It is a prophecy waiting for its fulfillment. And when it manifests, chosen one, it will not only bless you, it will shift nations, break chains, and glorify the one who orchestrated it all before the foundations of the world.